Hi everyone and welcome to your tarot guidance for the week of March the 7th, 2022. Well, just as we can expect from an astrological perspective, the cards depict a lot of intensity as well, and there will be a lot of karmic, let's say, discharges or manifestations playing out all throughout the world, but of course in our personal lives as well. And also, at least according to the cards, maybe there is a chance, a small chance, but still, that this conflict finds at least some kind of resolution throughout the course of next week. But of course, this is not set in stone, and this can mean more than one thing. This is where I would like to believe that that is what the cards mean. But anyway, the situation is going to evolve, so it's not gonna stagnate for that much longer. So first of all, we have the Five of Coins reversed, and this is basically to be expected. The Five of Coins is the card of material trouble. It can represent any big disruption or crisis or a strong blockage in the material plane, which can sometimes represent a person's health and physical body, livelihood, income, physical conditions, so anything that has to do with the earthly plane. But the clarifying cards do tell me that in this situation it does refer to the world economy, and it's not even the verse sign, if that makes sense, because it's reversed. So yes, there is crisis, there is gonna be a collapse, so to speak, there is gonna be loss, but this is just a transition. This is gonna be a short-lived crisis which will give way to something else, something new, perhaps the resolution or the next step, but it's also gonna be pretty intense, and not necessarily in a physical way where like a wave of poverty or something like that sweeps over the world. This is where perhaps a lot of big giants, like multi-millionaires and certain companies, are gonna just fall overnight, or there are gonna be a massive drop. And that is scary. Basically, that is almost like at a massive storm, the tallest trees will definitely get the rage of the wind first. So basically it will reflect to everyone, regardless of where you are, what your condition is, what your value system is, that there is a big change that is happening before our eyes. So all of us, our own unique ways, have to prepare for something new, something different. And this can also represent good news regarding the COVID situation, perhaps not necessarily from an epidemiological perspective, but rather, the relaxation of the restrictions and the anti-COVID measures and all of that, the very first signs of spring, if the COVID situation was a very dark, long and cold winter. But of course, there are signs of spring, yes, but that doesn't mean it will not snow in 2 days. That doesn't mean that the frost and the winter is permanently over. It just means that, it's entering a certain cycle where it has to end. It will end. At least, as I said, rules and regulations and restrictions wise, yet still, will it truly end? Because it already started certain movements, certain ideological currents. It already shattered an old normality so very brutally, so to speak, that for a lot of people, these relaxation measures or simply the end of all anti-COVID arrangements will simply not mean absolutely anything anymore. And how very suggestive is that Five of Coins reversed for this. It is a crisis and it is almost over, yet it means nothing. At least not immediately, or at least not practically, because we have other problems to take care of. And naturally, this can also represent that the price of fuel, energy, oil, everything that has to do with a power source, for example, Pluto in the energetic degrees of Capricorn, that will skyrocket and that will start a huge chain of economic events that will change the landscape of the world financially and economically speaking, and maybe even the whole economic balance of the world. I'm not saying that as quickly as in the course of this week, but this week will be already a huge step made in that direction. And again, I do keep sensing and seeing here that something or, someone big is gonna fall. And this is either a big financial institution or a very, very famous and, ultra super rich person. Not in the sense of, death or doom and gloom, but, the finances, the business, or their wealth. Now, from an individual perspective, this is a really positive energy because the 5 of coins reversed. We're getting out of something, we're getting out of crisis mode, we're getting out of any kind of scarcity. So for a lot of people, this can represent quick, very, very spontaneous financial opportunities, some not even as business, some not even as work or, anything that has to do with, making money. For some people, this will just enter their lives, show up in their lives as a karmic reward or maybe a symbolic caress from the universe. For others still, this is much more important than material gains. For a lot of people, this is healing and really, really strong detox energy. And I don't necessarily mean physical detox, even though a lot of people are definitely gonna be very, very motivated and inclined this week to, eat healthy and everything that has to do with physical detox. But for others still, this is like a soul, spiritual, psychological, emotional detox, where Jupiter in Pisces dancing with the Sun and Neptune, that is profoundly healing. And many times, something just sticks within us and the healing, the phoenix kind of energies just start to pop up, they start to trigger, they start to just enact the regeneration. And these opportunities, when this comes as a present, when this comes with a certain kind of ease, almost like on autopilot, well, that is definitely a karmic present and a karmic gesture of great benevolence towards us. Sometimes, of course, very, very rarely, Jupiter in Pisces, once every 12 years, can do in like 2 weeks maybe something that a licensed, experienced, trained, and full of goodwill, of course, therapist cannot accomplish in tens of years. Some wounds are just meant to be healed in a divine way. There is also this part. So next we have the Hermit, and this doesn't necessarily represent loneliness or solitude, but it does represent revelation and certain very, very important and necessary truth coming to daylight. Right now, it is more the lamp of the Hermit which is more important than anything else, because it is that lamp which shows the ultimate truth, that which cannot be distorted anymore by anything, because it is the inner light that's illuminating everything. So the inner light is also the light of our consciousness. So we are processing it, we are understanding it, we are taking in the lived experience, and that is the path towards enlightenment. And because so very many individuals have done this the past, let's say, 3, 4, 5, other people tens of years. Well, this is when that has to reflect an outer reality as well collectively. So there will be big truth moments of every nuance of this situation. Maybe refer to the COVID, maybe refer to any big topic and subject that has been impactful in our lives collectively lately. Well, a lot of truth and clarity will come out. And perhaps it's not the information itself that matters, because the information that will come out might actually be false, might actually be full of deception, but us being aware of that, sometimes the awareness of that which is totally false is an indirect answer to a question, inviting us to trust more that which we feel and the way we see and understand things. Whenever we see falseness, illogical, deceptive, manipulative information out there, well, yes, that is painful and all of that, but that kind of makes us trust ourselves even more, our own rational, lucid thinking and processing reality, basically. But of course, Hermit can represent self-sacrifice, determination, devotion to a cause, service to a much greater, higher cause. So that definitely represents humanitarian action, charitable action, people joining forces, putting in effort to help where help is needed. And this doesn't represent just the conflict. This is like a general theme playing out with this Pisces season, because that is what Pisces represents: compassion, helping. All of us are one, everyone's in the same boat, because we are human beings and we are brothers, etc., etc. And Mars and Venus in Aquarius, well, that is action, humanitarian action, doing something, joining forces for a greater cause. So this is also part of what the Hermit represents. There is going to be a lot of activity out there in the world. But, of course, there is going to be also a lot of fake charitable activity, a lot of illusion and deception, using someone's victim status or a really bad event that is going on in the world as a tool to, accomplish something or to direct opinion into a certain well-determined direction, for example. So all of this is part of the Hermit symbolism, because the inner light illuminates both truth and illusions. Individually speaking, for some people this represents that their journeys alone, solo, have come to an end, and maybe this week might be the start of a new partnership or a different modus vivendi where you're not really alone regardless of why. While for others this is a period of deep contemplation, because they are being presented with the next chapter or the next step, the next road to take on their journeys. So for some people, this is a period of very intense connection with the divine, with the spirit world, when something massive is taking place right now, preparing them for the next step on their journeys. So this is kind of like a second awakening, or one of those rare moments when the universe kind of communicates almost personally. Now next we have the Wheel of Fortune, and another card popped out, so I decided to keep it the Nine of Cups. Well, this kind of represents Jupiter in Pisces, literally. The Nine of Cups is Jupiter in the sign of Pisces, and the Wheel of Fortune is Jupiter. So collectively, this is, like pretty straightforward. Last couple of weeks before this war started, I said that this week we might experience something that a lot of people are going to interpret as a prophecy. And then, the Nostradamus thing with the atomic bomb and stuff like that. So this week the same energy appears. So maybe we're going to be seeing another symbol appearing from the Book of Revelations or from the words of some kind of big prophet or seer. Of course, I'm taking this in an ironic, humorous way, but this can be true. Of course, that doesn't mean that if the symbol appears, things will play out exactly as the prophet said. It just means that there's a karmic period at play, and it is very good if we pay close attention and interpret it, what it means for us personally, and not necessarily what someone else thinks about it or says about it or what was prophesied once. Just ask yourself, or ask the divine your own unique way, what that means, what that sign represents, and you'll get your answers without any intermediaries, and that's much healthier. But personally speaking, well, this can represent wish fulfillment, a massive karmic completion for some very lucky individuals. This can be like a union, meeting that person who you are supposed to meet right now, because chances are both you and this person find yourselves, for any reason in the now, that you have no future, that whatever you thought or was planning to be your future somehow just vanished, somehow it broke down, nothing went according to plan, or somehow your life suddenly, unexpectedly changed in such a way where you're absolutely totally lost now. This is where a now what kind of moment. Life stopped, and nothing that I used to know is valid anymore. So what now? So two people, if they're in the same situation and they meet, well, that will definitely be a union that was written in the stars. But for others still, it can be absolutely a wish fulfillment. What is your biggest wish? What wish fulfillment did you work towards intensely, let's say spiritually or in any way, shape or form? Something is going to be given to you that is yours by divine right. And for others still, this can be a big lucky opportunity, but easy energy where something just falls in your lap and it's yours there. And another way to look at this energy, well, this means quantum leap. This means a massive quantum leap where it's like a full moment, zero. No experience, no knowledge, don't even know what to expect, no even anticipation, anything. Is just fresh start, like it or not, like the first breath. It's almost like your house was taken away by a tornado, but you're alive and absolutely okay, but still now what? And finally we have the Chariot and the Queen of Swords. This popped out just like the Nine of Cups earlier, so I decided to keep it. Well, this does represent progress. And the Chariot has two horses, so two sides. So this symbolically, to me at least, says it's about the conflict, and it progresses, but the Queen of Swords is one of the most cruelest cards in tarot, because usually that queen cuts off a head with her sword, so a painful truth, or a very hard compromise, or a very close situation. And the clarifier cards, well, they show a king losing their crown. So one of the leaders, this doesn't mean the end of physical life. This means the crown is going to be lost, so that can mean either the advantage, or it can represent them losing hope, losing faith, giving up. Or it can represent a negotiation, an agreement, but where there's like heavy tolls for both of them, so everyone really lost, so no one wins, a lose-lose situation. But personally, well, it's a really good energy, because what this speaks to me, well, it says that this Queen of Swords is physical reality, either an information, a result, anything where physical reality shows something it reflects something through numbers or through something very palpable, as in rational, logical. It appeals to your mental sphere. It can come through as a measure, for example. And it's about your worth, but not necessarily as simple as just self-esteem or self-worth. You either as a professional or in a field or a domain or something that really is important for you. So life is gonna reflect that you're much more valuable or worthy, or something about your dignity or your honor or your way of being. But the truth that is going to be revealed goes way beyond your wildest dreams, because this Queen of Swords represents that you also criticize yourself pretty heavily, so you are totally unaware of your true value. So when physical reality will reflect that, either, as I said, in numbers or some way, your mind will crystal clearly understand what the universe is wanting to say by this. And what will become clear to you is that all your life you kind of underestimated yourself, or you criticized yourself pretty unfairly, because your true worth or your true quality is much better than you could have even imagined. So you had no idea of your true worth and value. And either this comes to you because you abandoned pride or a fixation or a rigidity very recently, or because you decided to finally choose yourself and your own happiness, and that is doing things for you in your life, karmically speaking. So this is what the cards have to say for this week. I do hope that it's going to be as positive and optimistic for everyone as depicted here. Thank you so much for being here and for listening. Until next time, bye for now.